What's good, everybody? Welcome to my channel. My name is Just Clark, and we're back with painting this. Haven't seen part one where I put on the main lights and shadows. It's also been uploaded on my channel, so if you want to see that, check that out. But today we're gonna be working on essentially rendering. So at this point, we're just aiming for more depth and details depending on how much we want. As you can see, this is my color rough. So at this point, it's really just um, balancing the values, making sure that the focal point and areas where I want the most attention to be are rendered, or in the way I render, that's gonna draw the most attention. So yeah, now I'm adding in what Japanese artists always like to call the second shadow or the nikage. Uh, kind of just consider this as adding extra depth. This is the part where I get the darker areas to separate the parts a lot more. I want this neck casting a shadow here. I want to add a little bit more redness to it, like that. This is a very important part, as you all know. So you want to render this area a little bit. Not too much, obviously. Don't want it overworked. Sometimes, well, a lot of the time, simplicity is key. So, yep. And I'm gonna just darken this part a bit. Because this arm is casting a shadow here. So I want just a tad bit, a little bit of darkness there. Really, at this point, it's just you just kind of feel it out. It's kind of hard to explain other than that, but I'm just looking for areas where there should be a little bit more shadow and stuff like that. And if I want to add some extra stuff, but it's very, I would say it's very minimal. I feel like the less I try to render and just think about important areas where I think a little bit more detail would help. and just doing a little bit for that produces the best results. And it's actually, you know, as you mature and grow, get better as an artist, you develop that sense on how much you think you should render or do, just according to your own, you know, according to your own taste and senses. So I'm not really saying you should do one thing or the other, because that would be limiting yourself to just one way. You should actually experiment and stuff like that. Like right here, I'm adding just a little bit of, just a tiny bit of render. Because obviously Alice is leaning forwards. There's gonna be some creasing. I want to give like a soft feeling for the body though, so I'm not gonna do too much to that. Thinking of darkening this part. This leg, because it's the furthest in the back. And then we can add a little bit of bounce light to that later, the ambient light. But for now, we'll keep this leg as the darkest. And then kind of push that back a little bit more. In terms of color choices, I'm moving towards the violets, and then not really, I'm no longer adding much saturation. Okay, maybe a little too dark. I'm gonna stick with this. It's a little bit cursed, but a little bit of cast shadow from the hand here. It's like that. Can't show it before or after, but hopefully, you know. Also, I want to add a little bit more depth to this. Make this a little bit more darker in between, because obviously, you know, it's also rounded. Its form is rounded, so it would only make sense that there's more shadow here. Same thing here. Yeah, make that darker. And that just makes it feel a lot more three-dimensional, I would say. All right, next up is the hair, and this is the part where I'm both excited for and also kind of scared. I think after the face and the eyes, in character drawing, the hair is this sometimes could be the number one most defining feature in a character. So very, very important. I'm gonna when it comes to painting blonde hair, it's I don't want to add much saturation and go towards the oranges. I'm just gonna add some shadows here. And yeah, I'm using a textured brush. And then I'm gonna add some solid shadows afterwards. Solid? No one. Sorry. Brain rot. I've been brain rotted by for such a long time. Yeah, I'm gonna add some solid shadows finally. Same principle. Just thinking about the shapes and also a little bit of definition onto what's going on with the hair. Could always refer to, you know, official illustrations just to kind of see how they went about that. And yeah, as you can see, it's gonna add some little hair strands like shadows caused cast by the hair, following its flow. If I zoom in, you can see they're very subtle. I'm just really focusing on the shape that I'm painting. I'm adding some depth to Alice's hair. Super, super subtle. But that's the thing. You don't really need to do much. The more I grow as an artist and the more I paint, the more I observe, it's nowadays it's a lot more of doing less but better than doing more. So it's a lot less of trying to just go here and make a bunch of details that don't really add any substance to the illustration and then think that it makes it better. It's way more about being much more conservative with my choices. I mean, with the amount of things that I do and put on, but making the most effective decisions is how I put it. Like, I could even boil it down into just one of the best life advices that I go by. It's like it's like picking out the three most important things in your life, and then just focusing on excelling at those. It's like profession, relationships, and self care. Going to the gym, stuff like that, taking care of your health, eating clean. Once you've really gotten those parts down, that's really just the keys to a good life. Everything else is just extra. It's like the ikigai. So this part, I don't want much details around these areas here. I'm just adding a little bit of rendering on them, just to give them a little bit more character, just so they don't feel flat. In terms of values, still have this. All right, here's the next thing. It's the highlights. I'm just following the flow of the hair here. And I'll just do this. I'll push some areas back, push some areas in, split some areas up. The way I do highlights is pretty simple, although I don't know, I'm just really doing what my favorite artists do. And also just by observing, I realize how simple it can be. So I'm just not trying to overcomplicate things. And if if it looks good, then I really got no complaints. Does it look good? I don't know. I'm gonna add some extra highlights on top here. This also a very important part in rendering hair, which is the lights that are reflected on the hair. I am following the form, so hmm and then just some skin color. Airbrushing some the skin color because it's peeking through tinier hair strands. I'll just I guess add a little bit more nuance to this. Just a tad bit. More of a creative um, decision. There isn't really any. I mean, aside from the form of the hair, there's just some extra to add some interest so it's not as flat. And now I'm going to actually add some darker shadows here, just to a few areas. I just want to increase the contrast, so you can see, have immediately a stronger impression. Something like that. I also like to just refer to, you know, my favorite artists, kind of see if I'm running through a roadblock. I would like check what else can I add to my work that could possibly make it better. But I mean, essentially just started rendering. So yeah, thinking of pushing the hair back a little bit more here. Just gonna add some more bounce light. And possibly push this back a little bit more. That actually definitely helps. There's more contrast because it's lighter. Then I'm darkening this part. But we also have the lights that we added before that just keeps the variety of colors. Push this back to, and then I can just use this color later on for the other whites. And I'm still following the form. Okay, it should be enough. So I want to push these into shadow more. Keep really a lot of the light here. And then this would have more bounce light, ambient light, because it's closer to the part where light hits. So, and then add some bounce light. And these ones too, make them darker. I don't really bump the saturation up as much. And also not much bounce light going on. Now it's really, this one's really standing out. This part, it's really starting to stand out now. Just thinking about the hair right now. Clean this up a bit too. And then grab shadow. Just gonna add some extra depth to this part. Okay. Except for the clothes. So I'm gonna start out with the cast shadows here. Just add some more uh, darkness to it because some of these parts are basically ambient occlusions. Oh, had me worried for a sec there. I thought I was gonna crash. Okay. That. I'll use this. do a little bit of render here. Last time it's just the main shadows and lights. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of extra, extra interest to it. Gonna give it a little bit more, give them a little bit more love and detail. This is also the reason why I don't zoom in as much anymore, because I could stay here and get very sucked in, pause, get very sucked in onto, rendering every little detail that I can think of. But obviously, we've grown, learned our lessons, and know that sometimes less is more in this case. So, so yeah, that's about pretty much just what we're gonna do for that. Here, just some extra depth and some extra shadows there. We want to really darken this part too. That really balances everything out now. That, and I almost forgot this one. Very subtle. Don't really need to do much on that one. Yeah. This one, not super important. So I'm just gonna be very minimalistic about this. Don't want that to have too much contrast. It might get distracting. Okay. In terms of rendering cloth, it's just about triangles. It's really just triangles. I'm just trying to balance the values. Darken this a bit. And just airbrush a bit of bounce light. Don't want to overwork that part. Okay. Step is this. I play around a bit with the bounce light here in this one, just because of the material. So I'm gonna add a little bit of bounce light from the skin here. Same thing here, just a little bit. Same thing here. Gonna play around with the colors quite a bit. I mean, we can play around with the colors quite a bit in this case. Then we're gonna open up a new. So we're gonna add some details. Here. Little circles. Circles. Mm, that. And then here. Make them a little bigger, just for contrast too. Honestly, these days with these paintings, I've really just been experimenting, trying to apply what I've learned. So I'm making this partly, well, mainly to just document my process and progress. Well, hopefully, you guys can learn a thing or two. Alright, start reds. Can use this. Then I'm gonna do this part. It's diamond here. Oh, hold on. It's a diamond here. Is that right? I think so, yeah. And triangle here. I'm just gonna do this. Easy. Oh, there's little things here. Whatever these are, I guess I'll put them on too. Is this Japanese or kanji? I was gonna write it like kanji, and then brighter. I guess we can add some extra depth to these. Something like that. Some light. And last thing, these bad boys here. Highlights. And there's just some shadows for extra depth. Alright, so that's the main renders. Last thing I'm gonna do, real quick. I'm gonna do this real quick. Everybody, avert your eyes. I'm gonna do the line art merge. This is one of my favorite parts. I think it just starts to put the piece together, you know? Where's my background? I don't know. It just gives it more of a painted feel. Obviously, I'm gonna reduce the opacity of that. So made a lot of difference for this part. So yeah, this is what we got now. We'll just finish it off with the eyes, and the main rendering should be done. So There's a lot of variations here. I don't even think I have any. Oh, the eyebrows. I feel like later on I'm gonna make adjustments, but for now this is the main render that we have. So I don't want to overwork it too early. I want to maintain the balance for everything. All right. First we have I suck at eyes, by the way. Uh, that's one of my weaknesses that I've been working on. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out a process and a method, but for now, it's really just the same thing about depth, form, and everything, especially the reflectivity of the eyes. This is my mistake. Um, Alice actually has heterochromia. I'll figure that out later. For now, just gonna we'll render this eye out, the left eye. The eyes are very important, so I won't be sparing with the details. But I'm still checking the overall balance. And I like the blending that I'm getting here. I think it adds to. Just gonna put a little palette here, and then we'll work on this one. Move this towards the orange. Actually, we'll first go with the dark red. And then make a little palette. I just burped. I don't know if that got caught on camera. I hope not, because that's minus aura. And if it did, excuse me. Very unprofessional. Right. And then slightly darker red for the pupil. And then much darker. Hmm. Oops, too thick. Lay it on too thick there now, buddy. I'll lay it on too thick now. Alright, boom. I'll just do the same for symmetrical purposes, even though there's a lot less difference between the pupil here and the pupil with the orange side. And then yellow, like a dandelion kind of yellow. And last but not the least, pink. That blends pretty well. Right, cool, cool. Got this eye done. And then last but not the least, gonna do are the highlights. Add some yellows and some blues. And add those to the palette. All right. Oh, what the fuck? Almost 1 hour in. I'm just gonna do some extracurricular work. Not really. We'll finish off the much needed details for these parts, like the whites of the eyes, which I completely forgot because I got too distracted with working on the actual eyes, which I mean is more important. And then here, the shadows, eyelids and stuff. And actually, I forgot a very key part in anime illustrations, which in a second I will do. Forgot the blush. Very important part. Alright, so far, that's what we have with the render. Like I said, very minimal, but it's mainly just focusing on depth and overall read. I'll make some adjustments later for sure once I work a little bit of the other parts. But yeah, anyways, that's the rendering part. About an hour in, I'll just do this actually. Oop, massive. That looks like shit. Hold on. I mean, is it really like that? I'm good, blue. Have it blend anymore. And then with last thing. Sorry. I mean, it's kind of really how it goes here, but all right, cool. There we go. All right, I'm gonna save this. If you guys enjoyed this rendering video, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what y'all think, what you learned, and yeah, I'm gonna see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Yeah.